Hey guys, it's Brian again from Lake Ecker Scuba and Marina. This is going to be another quick commentated video here. Back on May 21st, 2015, we were requested by a tow company to assist one of the local fire departments with a recovery of a vehicle that had ran in the water. So that's what this video here is. You're going to basically see us going down, hooking a cable from the wrecker company up to the vehicle, bringing it up, and we'll talk a little bit about the area here, the bottom composition, and what struggles we had, and how we came across it. So here, myself and the other diver will just get oriented. Thanks to the local fire department, we were already able to locate the vehicle via sonar, and we had marked the vehicle with just regular old bass buoys. So we're dropping down, and usually when you run sonar, you will make a couple passes. They were able to make a first pass, drop a buoy, make a second pass, drop the buoy, and you'll see in the video this first buoy is about 10 feet away from the vehicle. However, the second buoy, which you will notice, it was dead center of the vehicle, which was pretty cool in how accurate that sonar was. But as we go down, we locate the vehicle. A couple of the things that we do is, of course, we always do a preliminary search in any type of situation like this to make sure that there's no one still in the vehicle or anything like that. Also, at a minimum, if you got a vehicle in the roadway or in the waterway, it could be anything from a motor vehicle collision. It could be a fraud investigation for law enforcement. So it's still an investigation. So we make a preliminary search of that vehicle to make sure there's no one inside and no evidence that needs to be documented or anything like that. So here we've located the vehicle. Another thing that we do anytime that we're going to salvage any item, a boat, a car, or anything, is we're going to mark the vehicle. So even though there's a buoy on it, we're going to attach another buoy. That way, while we're towing the vehicle out, we're lifting the vehicle. In the event that the tow cable breaks and or the lift bags that we typically would use were to fail, we still have the object marked, and that way we don't have to go back and relocate it on sonar. And that's simply what myself and the other diver here is doing. We're going to mark it with a surface marking buoy, shoot a reel to the surface, and then attach the reel to the vehicle. But if you noticed real quick, the car was in the upside down position. And most of the time when something sinks, especially a vehicle, the most heaviest part, which would be the engine compartment, it's going to always go downward as it sinks to the bottom, and that's what happened in this case. So here we're just simply marking it with a surface marking buoy, and then of course we will shoot the reel to the surface. Now as we continue our preliminary search, we are going to attach the reel to the highest point. And here, as we're doing a preliminary, you'll also notice the other diver will signal to me that he has located something. Ends up being the original bass buoy that we marked it after finding it on sonar. What I'm explaining to him here is the trunk usually always comes open on vehicles. As the vehicle goes down, all the air will rush to the back side of the vehicle or to the highest point, which in this case happened to be the trunk, and that's usually enough force to actually open the trunk. It's almost a safety feature too if somebody would happen to be trapped in their vehicle. If they had access from the inside to the trunk area, say if it's a hatchback or something like that, they would be able to get out. And of course here we've marked the vehicle, we've attached it to the trunk latch, the reel system, and the buoy. All I'm doing here is basically just getting, for documentation purposes, I'm getting a navigational heading to which way the car is facing, which happens to be south. And of course, like I said, that is for documentation purposes and for research purposes too. When that vehicle entered the water, it was going at a certain speed. It traveled a certain distance across the surface of the water before sinking. And then the current, the location that we're at, there's actually a dam not far from us, probably less than 300 yards away. So the water that comes over the top of that dam and then pushes through, that current actually drifted this vehicle approximately 50 yards out into the waterway itself compared to where it hit the water. So for research and documentation purposes, we always document everything as far as maximum depth, the direction the vehicle is facing, the final resting point, and all that. Then here we're making our first ascent. We'll reconvene on the surface with surface personnel and the wrecker service, find out what they want to do at this point. Which you will end up seeing. We were a little concerned that the wrecker service had a tow cable that was 150 feet long. The vehicle was approximately 50 yards offshore, so that was a little more than 150 feet from a diagonal standpoint of reaching. We were kind of concerned, would we have to lift this vehicle with lift bags, then get it close enough to shore and hook it to a cable. Luckily, the tow company did have a longer cable system that we were able to use, so we was able to tow it in strictly by the cable and not have to worry about lift bags, which you'll fix to see. Now, in this next shot here, the local fire department that assisted us with this, they used their vessel to tow the cable out to us so that we wouldn't have to swim and exert too much energy towing this heavy cable and hook system out. So in the next scene, what you're going to see is we're going to take the cable down, take the hook down, find a good solid location on the front of the car to hook the cable to, and then slowly winch the cable in via the tow company, which that's what you're fixing to see here. It's important to note too, when you do operations like this, here at Lake Hickory Scuba and Marina, we train a lot of public safety dive teams, and one thing that we see a lot of times is failure to use the appropriate equipment. And we're not talking about, you don't have to have very expensive equipment to do salvage work like this. However, anytime you do have a vehicle in the water, a couple things that you got to concern yourself with. There is going to be some type of hazmatic release versus whether it's a gas release or an oil release or grease or something off that vehicle. And typically speaking, regular wetsuits in general are going to protect the diver. However, gas and stuff can eat through neoprene fairly quickly. The diver here in front of me, he does have a semi-dry suit that is fairly thick, and it does have a coating on that's protecting the suit from any type of hazmatic material. And of course, I'm in a dry suit, a tri-laminate dry suit. Another thing that I see, speaking of wetsuits in general, I see a lot of public safety teams who wear neoprene dry suits, which do protect them from the environment for warmth and stuff like that, or from the cold environment. However, it doesn't really protect them in situations like this when there is hazmatic material in the water. So for any teams out there watching this, please make sure you wear the appropriate equipment when you're doing jobs like this. couple other good skills to have if you're a salvage diver or even a public safety diver. Just good general knowledge of a vehicle. As you can tell here, our visibility is not all that great. Especially the more that we're in this working environment, the more we're stirring up. Here it just pretty much goes black just for a second there. Understanding a vehicle's layout, understanding where to hook up to, and being able to locate those areas simply by touch and feel alone without being able to see what you're really doing, that tends to help us out a lot while doing our job. Now that we've got the vehicle initially hooked up with the tow company, we're going to slowly try to keep the line tight so that the hook does not come free. And instead of coming back up in the open part of the water there, what we're going to do is just follow the line back to shore. This way we can control our scent. You will notice here in a second, this area that we're at, it's basically a landing. And initially what happened, a guy come around a curve of the road, his brakes gave out. He went out across the parking lot of this landing, pulled his e-brake, slid across the gravel, and went into the water. And at this particular landing, when you get to the base of the ramp, it's just a sheer drop off. So the ramp goes down to about 7 to 10 feet, and then it's just a sheer drop off straight to the bottom, which our maximum depth here was roughly 32 feet. So as we're towing this vehicle in, or as the tow company is winching the vehicle in, it actually gets lodged on that sheer drop off or on that rock wall. So we have to make a third and final dive to go down and rehook the vehicle in the rear part of it, and then the tow company is able to take both cables and basically walk this vehicle up the wall, which you won't be able to see from underneath, but you will see the vehicle come up from the surface. And here's a little bit of obstruction that we got there. Doesn't seem like much, but a tree, a big bush, or anything can cause problems. Like I said, here you can kind of see the wall that we're coming into. Anything like that can cause trouble with the cable system, even pulling the car up. Any type of overhang that you got, which on this particular wall there was an overhang, that vehicle can get lodged in, can get caught in a tree or lodged in a tree. So we always want to make sure we have a clear passageway for that vehicle to be towed in. Of course, the whole time swimming up this cable, coming back to the surface, we are keeping it tight so that it stays in contact with the vehicle. And here we're getting to the top of the wall when we will actually come up the ramp. Now, as the vehicle is being towed in, if you look out there in the distance, you can see the red surface marking buoy that we placed originally. One thing that you'll notice as it begins to be towed in, you'll see that buoy stand up as that line gets tight. And that's nothing more just to let us know where the vehicle's at, its positioning in the water. And in the event that one of these cables were to break, we wouldn't have to take the sonar back out, relocate it. We could simply just go back out to the buoy, swim down the line, rehook up with some lift bags or another cable, and then simply bring it in. Now on this third and final dive, like I said, we had to go back down, take a separate cable with us, and this time we're hooking to the rear of the vehicle. Like I said initially, we hooked to the front, up underneath the axle area. We were towing it. However, the car did get lodged onto that drop-off that we talked about, that rock wall. So now what we're going to do is hook to the rear of the vehicle, and this way the tow company can actually pretty much walk that vehicle up the wall. It can pull on one cable and then pull on the other cable and so forth and so on until it gets free from that rock ledge. Another thing that we could have done was use the lift bags to lift it straight up. However, using the resources that we got, not having to use the lift bags, not having to go down with the extra air and all that, is a little bit simpler to do what we're doing. Also, what you're going to notice here is the visibility is pretty much gone at this point. We've done so much work. We've drugged that vehicle through the silt. However, if you look right there, the headlight of the vehicle is still active. So that helped us out a little bit to relocate the vehicle. Of course, we swam down the cable. Once we're on it, we're going to swim to the back, hook up to basically a tow ring or an area where the vehicle would normally be towed at. Here you can kind of see the position of the vehicle in the water. Now we're going to go down. We're going to try to find something here to the back to hook to. Once again, we are just working in the blind here. Another good reason to have good quality equipment. The lights that we're using are extremely bright. They do cut through the darkness for us. The diver has the light that you're seeing there is from the diver's wrist. It's a wrist mount system he uses. And then I'm wearing a full face mask, so I have two little lights mounted up on top. With that, I don't really need to see way out there if I'm working up close and personal. So those lights that I have on my full face mask are perfect for me. Now you can't see them because the camera that I'm using to film this is actually up on top of the mask itself. So the angle of the shot that I'm getting, you don't see what my eyes are seeing. You see what's directly above me. So, but having good quality lights to be able to cut through the darkness. Anytime that you do salvage work or public safety work, this is very common in this field to have visibility as bad as what you're seeing here. So it's always good to have appropriate equipment and equipment that can cut through the darkness like that. Now that we've got the vehicle hooked up, we're going to slowly come back up the cable, making a good slow ascent. And then for the final shot, you will see the vehicle being towed out of the water. And now that we surfaced here, you'll see the two cables here. They'll pull on one, pull on the other one. Basically what they're doing is just walking that vehicle up the wall, or that drop off, that rock wall there. And then once it hits the ramp itself, they will be able to just pull the vehicle straight out. And then here in this final shot, like I said, you'll see the vehicle in its entirety. That was the vehicle's travel path right there. As it came through the parking lot, the driver pulled his e-brake to try to stop. He skidded out across the gravel straight down the ramp. And then if you go back to the original shot, I'll show you here in an end a Google Maps view of the scene. So here you can see an overlay once again. I showed it to you at the beginning of the video. This is just a Google Earth shot here. In the center of the water there, you can see the vehicle's final resting place. That's where the vehicle come to rest. One thing that you will notice is that vehicle is not straight out from the ramp. It had drifted a little bit. To the left over there was it's a dam on the left side of the bridge. And there's kind of a heavy current coming through there. So as that car entered the water, it actually skidded a little ways across the top. Then the current caught it, and it actually pushed it over to the left side. At the distance we were at, like I said, we were concerned with the cable not being long enough. Luckily, they were able to add cable length to it, just for the arc part of the measurement there. But guys, I appreciate you watching this video. I really hope you learned something from it, as far as from a salvage standpoint, even from a safety standpoint. If you got any comments on this, please put it down below. If you got any questions, feel free to ask us at any time. As always, we appreciate you watching our videos. Check back each week for a new one. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, pin us on Pinterest, subscribe to us here on YouTube, and as always, guys, we appreciate your business.